Okay, here we are. It's all music with Todd Ledbetter, 1988. My favorite, my top six picks that were released in 1988. It's a little bit of a different year for me in that some of these albums I didn't get into in 1988. I know they were popular and I remember, the buzz about them. People would talk about them, but it took me a couple of years or even a few years to discover some of these bands. And then when I did finally discover them after they had released a few more albums, I'd gone back into their catalog and they've become my favorite albums and my favorite bands. So that's kind of an interesting thing about this particular year. Music's changing a lot. You're getting a lot of new sounds coming in, and and I'll show you what I mean by that. And we'll kick off with my number six for 1988, and that particular band is Social Distortion and their Prison Bound album. I love this album. I didn't get into it in 1988. Took me a number of years before I really discovered Social Distortion, but I liked the style of music. I used to go out to our local area. Oxnard was a pretty big hub for um, punk music at the time, and this is kind of like a blend of, to me it's a blend of punk and rock, kind of hybrid, sort of new punk in a way. I don't know how you would describe it, but definitely very cool sound. I like it a lot. I like the song arrangements. I like the style of rock. I like the vocalists. It just sounds good to me. They had their own sound. That's what I liked about it. But definitely one of my faves of this year, 1988. Great albums, got a lot of good songs on it, and more to come from them. Definitely, they were definitely a major player back then, and had some more really great releases. So that's my number six for 1988. And that's going to bring us to number what, five already. I lost count already. And yeah, this is a good one too. And again, this band, I didn't listen to this album when it first came out. I didn't discover them for another couple of years. But when I did discover them, I came back to this album. Soundgarden, a super super awesome band. Love Soundgarden. Chris Cornell on lead vocals. Uh, Great album. Loved it. Their first album that they released, and to me, it's fantastic, and it's just really a precursor of things to come for them. But definitely a sort of a new thing happening. You got, it sort of feels metal, but then it kind of doesn't quite. And they really sort of ushered in that sort of grunge type era in the '90s, and you can kind of feel that coming on with this album. Some great songs, nothing overly like popular here, but still, once you get a taste for Soundgarden, you're just happy to have more music to listen to, even if it's their earlier stuff. And I really like this album, so that was a good one for me for this album, even though I didn't discover it in the particular year of 1988, but not long after. Huge Soundgarden fan and one of my favorite grunge, if you want to call it grunge, bands of the time. Definitely, Seattle, Washington band. So that was that one. Um, and moving up to my number four pick, which is also, another band that very distinctive in their style, something new, something we haven't heard before. And when we did hear it, we were like, what the heck am I listening to? This is cool. And so, and what I'm talking about is, of course, Jane's Addiction. What a great band Addiction was. Some just outrageous new music that was very different for the time, and uh, they had some great songs like Jane Says and Mountain Song, and just a bunch of different songs that were pretty popular actually. But the whole album was just really fun to listen to, and just one of those things where you want to listen to from start to finish. Um, great album. Love Jane's Addictions. They had several albums that I enjoyed, and definitely not one that I got onto right here in the 1988. It was a few years later once I really, kind of, I think Jane's Addiction. Of course, I mean, she's what was the name of the song again? Like oh yeah, Jane Says, and those songs I heard on the radio, but it was, I don't know, I don't think I didn't buy this album right away, but when I did, I was glad I did, and it became one of my favorites, still to this day. So that was a happy, happy day for me. I love discovering new music, even today when even though I'm talking about all this old music, it doesn't mean that's all I listen to. And I have a lot of old time, all-time favorites that are from the 70s and the 80s and things like that. But I definitely like new music as well. And so I like discovering new music. And Jane's Addiction was my number four. It was a happy discovery a couple years after 1988, even though I had heard some of the popular songs on the radio and dug it. But I think the first time I really got into it was when I was in San Francisco. I was in Berkeley, and I had gone to Buffalo Exchange. It was years and years and years ago. We didn't have, it was something real new and fresh and never seen anything like it as far as a thrift store. And they were playing Jane's Addiction in a Buffalo Exchange, and sort of similar to my story about when I first heard Tom Petty's first album in the record store. You're just kind of hearing it while you're shopping, and I'm more listening than I am shopping. And that was the point where I go, okay, this is very, very cool. And not just the couple of songs that I've heard on the radio. They've got a real unique style. So I definitely dove into their catalog and enjoyed it and still do to this day. Okay, so that is my number four, Jane's Addiction. Nothing shocking at all. Nothing to see here. So everything's good. All right, so that brings us to number three, and another good one. And this particular album, man, the singer, Jeff Tate, what a voice. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. This was another band that I didn't get into right away, but the buzz and people were talking about, Queensryche, but I just, for some reason, didn't get into it at the time. I was into other things and had lots of music to listen to, and I didn't really venture out. But then when I finally did, it was undeniable. I mean, this stuff, is just incredible. And there's just nobody like Jeff Tate as a vocalist. He just has an amazing voice, and he just got better and better and better. Really, I mean, he just continued to improve. And then, of course, he left Queensryche at one point, but then he came back, and that was a good thing. So, good stuff. Number three on my top six picks for 1988. Yeah, Queensryche it is just a great, great, great band. Speaking of great bands that are in a lot of trouble now. Now they're not in trouble. Just funny, we all know the story about this band, just craziness. But it's Van Halen, and they came out with OU812. The second album with Sammy. I loved it. I'm sorry, but I just liked Sammy, and I liked what they were doing. I liked the guitar work and the bass work, the drumming. I liked the songwriting with Sammy in there, being more melodic and not as cheesy. Although they had their funny songs. I mean, Finish What You Started. I love that song. That's just got such a cool vibe. All Mine, When It's Love is a huge hit. Cabo Wabba's fun. Source of Infection. I mean, barn burner. You want to talk about a barn burner? Source of Infection feels so good. Great song. Black and Blue. These are all it's a fantastic album, and really, it's my number two for 1988. I think it's great. And however you feel about Van Halen, they were on a roll at this point, man. They really kicked it into high gear with having Sammy as their lead vocalist, and they did great. And good songwriting. Nothing bad about it, in my opinion. You get your different camps. You're a David Lee Roth Van Halen guy, or you're a Sammy Van Halen guy. But I'm kind of both. I like both. I don't know if that's my favorite album of theirs, but I don't know. It's hard because really, even though I'm a fan of both, I do kind of separate them into the both kind of eras. The only era I don't really care about is the Van Halen 3 with Gary Cherone. Not into it, so I don't really care about that. But anyways, that brings us to my number one pick for 1988 already. This is a quick one. And of course, one of my favorite bands of all time, and kind of a controversial album, I would say, in a critical respect, but it's Rattle and Hum by U2. U2's one of my favorite bands. Definitely a different style album, you know, more kind of Americana in a lot of ways. It was partially live recordings and then partially studio, but some great songs. They did some covers. They've got like Helter Skelter. Desire was a big hit for them. All Along the Watchtower was a Bob Dylan song, also done by and made very popular by um, Jimi Hendrix. Silver and Gold's a great song. Pride in the Name of Love, Angel in Harlem, Love Rescue Me, When Love Comes to Town with that BB King vocal and little guitar on it. Great stuff. Heartland, God Part 2. Just a really, really cool, cool album. I liked it a lot. You know, they got a lot. They don't know. They also did that. It was kind of an album that film came out too right after this, and didn't do too well. But the album did pretty good, and they had quite a bit of success with this album. But they definitely changed their style for this album, and then they changed it dramatically after this album. So I don't know. Some people aren't into that kind of thing. You know, I thought it was great. I love the way that I love the way that artists and people can kind of reinvent themselves and sort of always looking for something new and something fresh, even though they're kind of, in a way, kind of, kind of. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that because there's still Americana style music out there that's brand new. I mean, I love that style of music. I really dig it. There's a lot of great Americana acts out there that are fresh and new and happening right now. It's a style of music, and I like the style of music. It a little different than what they had been doing, and it's a little different from what they have done after this, but still a great album, and it's my top pick for 1988. And so I guess we'll call that. We got Social Distortion number 6. We got Soundgarden number 5. We got Jane's Addiction with Nothing Shocking number 4. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime number 3, and then Van Halen OU812 number 2, and then U2's Rattle and Hum was number 1. So that's my top 6 picks for 1988. My favorites, not yours. If you got some favorites, please let me know what they are. I'd be interested in knowing. I want, especially if I've never heard it, I'd love to check it out. I always like discovering new stuff. So give this video a like and subscribe if you would, please, and click the notification bell. Make a comment down below. Let me know what you think about my ranking and what your ranking might be if you were to choose albums from 1986, or even just take these albums and reorder them into an order that you would like if you want to do that. So thanks for watching, guys, and we are going to be seeing you with my top 10 special edition with a lot of Wikipedia notes on the bands, on the albums for 1989, and then we will jump right into the 90s, and that's going to be fun. So look forward to 1989, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.